The Legacy of Love. The journey of Kunda, Mutinta, and Chanda in a Zambian village. Kunda was a young man of humble origins, living in a peaceful village nestled in the green hills of Zambia. Known for his hard work and kind heart, Kunda had earned the respect of his fellow villagers. Yet, as he approached his 30th year, he remained unmarried, much to the concern of his family. Marriage was an important step, and Kunda wanted to make sure he chose the right woman to share his life with. One day, driven by a mix of curiosity and the gentle pressure of his family, Kunda decided to seek the guidance of an old prophet who lived at the edge of the village. The prophet, a man whose visions were said to be as clear as the Zambezi River, welcomed Kunda into his simple hut. The air was thick with the scent of burning herbs, and the walls were lined with strange artifacts that seemed to hold secrets of their own. The prophet motioned for Kunda to sit by the fire, and after a long, thoughtful silence, he spoke. "Your future wife will be named Mutinta," he said, his voice low and gravelly. Kunda's eyes widened slightly in surprise. Mutinta was a common name in the village. It was not the specific guidance he had hoped for. Could she be the one? Kunda wondered, but before he could dwell on it, another woman approached. Her name too was Mutinta. She was strong and confident, with a presence that commanded attention. Kunda was drawn to her as well, and the doubt began to creep in. As the evening continued, Kunda met yet another woman named Mutinta, and then another and another. By the end of the night, Kunda had met 5 different women, all named Mutinta, each unique in her own way. Confusion and a hint of panic began to set in. How was he to know which Mutinta was his true destined wife? Unable to make sense of the situation, Kunda decided to visit the prophet once more to seek clarity. He made the journey back to the small hut where the prophet lived, but when he arrived, he was met with heartbreaking news. The prophet had passed away just the day before, leaving Kunda with no further guidance. Kunda stood in silence, staring at the closed door of the prophet's hut. He felt lost, as if a great weight had settled on his shoulders. But he knew he couldn't give up. He had to find the real Mutinta among the 5 women, and he had to do it on his own. Kunda decided that the only way forward was to get to know each Mutinta individually. The first Mutinta, the one with the gentle smile and kind heart, was the one who had made the strongest initial impression on him. She was well known in the village for her generosity and her love of children. She often spent her days caring for the younger ones in the village, teaching them songs and stories, and making sure they were well fed and happy. Kunda began to spend more time with her, helping her with the children and getting to know her better. He admired her selflessness and the way she always put others before herself. They would walk together in the evenings, talking about their dreams and hopes for the future. Mutinta's warmth and kindness made Kunda feel at ease, and he began to wonder if she was the one. But despite his growing affection for her, Kunda felt a nagging doubt. There was something that seemed incomplete, as if a piece of the puzzle was still missing. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but he knew he needed to spend time with the other Mutintas before he could be sure. Next, Kunda turned his attention to the second Mutinta, the one with the strong and confident presence. She was a skilled farmer, known for her ability to manage her land with great efficiency. Unlike many women in the village, she worked her fields alongside the men, and her crops were always the best in the market. Kunda found her independence and strength admirable. He began to join her in the fields, learning from her and helping her with the hard work. They spent hours together under the sun, talking about life, their struggles, and their dreams. Kunda was impressed by her determination and her ability to stand on her own. But as much as he admired her, Kunda couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't need him. She was strong and capable, but there was a certain distance between them that Kunda couldn't bridge. He liked her, respected her, but he didn't feel the deep connection he was hoping for. Kunda's journey continued with the third Mutinta, a woman who was full of life and creativity. She was a talented singer and dancer, always the center of attention at village gatherings. Her laughter was infectious, and she had a way of bringing joy to everyone around her. Kunda was drawn to her vibrant spirit, and they spent many evenings together, singing, dancing, and enjoying the simple pleasures of life. Mutinta's playful nature was a breath of fresh air for Kunda, and he found himself smiling more in her presence than he had in a long time. Yet, despite the fun and joy, Kunda felt a twinge of uncertainty. He worried that her playful nature might not align with his more serious side. While he enjoyed her company, he wasn't sure if their lives would fit together in the long run. Kunda turned his attention to the fourth Mutinta, a woman known for her wisdom and intelligence. Unlike the other Mutintas, she spent much of her time reading and sharing knowledge with the villagers. She had a small library of books passed down through generations, and her thirst for learning was unmatched. Kunda admired her intellect and found their conversations stimulating. They would sit for hours, discussing various topics, from the history of their people to the stars in the night sky. Mutinta's mind was a treasure trove of ideas and stories, and Kunda found himself deeply engaged with her. Yet, despite their deep intellectual connection, Kunda felt something was lacking. As much as he enjoyed their discussions, he wondered if their relationship would ever move beyond the exchange of ideas. There was a distance between them, a gap that couldn't be bridged by words alone. Kunda felt that while they connected on a mental level, the emotional connection he sought remained elusive. The final Mutinta was gentle and nurturing, known in the village as a healer. She had a deep understanding of herbs and natural remedies, and people often sought her out for help when they were ill. Kunda was intrigued by her calm demeanor and the way she seemed to carry an inner peace that was rare to find. Kunda spent time with this Mutinta, learning about the different plants and their uses and accompanying her as she tended to the sick. He admired her compassion and the care she showed to everyone, no matter who they were. There was something soothing about being in her presence, and Kunda felt a sense of tranquility he hadn't felt with the others. But even with this peaceful connection, Kunda was unsure. He found her nurturing nature comforting, but he worried if their relationship might be more one-sided, him relying on her strength rather than an equal partnership. After spending time with all 5 Mutintas, Kunda found himself more confused than ever. Each woman had qualities he admired, and he had grown to care for all of them in different ways. The first Mutinta's kindness, the second's strength, the third's vibrancy, the fourth's wisdom, and the fifth's nurturing nature all spoke to different parts of Kunda's heart. But how could he choose? The weight of the decision began to bear down on him, and Kunda found himself lying awake at night, turning the problem over in his mind. The prophet's words echoed in his thoughts, but they offered no clear solution. Was it possible that the prophet had been wrong? Or was there something Kunda was missing? Kunda knew he couldn't delay his decision forever. The village was beginning to talk, and the Mutintas themselves were becoming impatient. Each of them had invested time and emotion into their relationship with Kunda, and he could sense their frustration. He needed to make a choice, but the fear of making the wrong one paralyzed him. In his desperation, Kunda decided to seek guidance from his ancestors. It was a tradition in the village to consult the spirits of those who had passed, especially in times of great need. One night, under the light of a full moon, Kunda made his way to the sacred grove where the village elders had long performed their rituals. Kunda brought offerings of food and drink, laying them at the base of the ancient baobab tree that stood at the center of the grove. He knelt before the tree, closing his eyes and reaching out with his spirit, seeking the wisdom of those who had gone before him. "Ancestors," Kunda whispered, "I seek your guidance. I am lost and do not know which path to take. The prophet told me my wife's name would be Mutinta, but now there are 5, and I do not know which one is meant for me. Please show me the way." The night was still, and Kunda waited in silence, hoping for a sign. For a long time there was nothing but the sound of the wind in the trees. But then, as Kunda was about to give up, he felt a warmth wash over him, as if the very earth beneath him had come alive. The leaves of the baobab tree rustled softly, and Kunda heard a voice in his mind, calm, gentle, and filled with wisdom. "The heart knows what the mind cannot understand," the voice said. "Do not seek the answer in logic or reason, but in the quiet truth that lies within your soul. The right Mutinta is the one who completes you, the one who makes you whole. Trust in your heart, and you will find her." Kunda left the sacred grove with a renewed sense of purpose. The ancestors' words had given him clarity, reminding him that the answer lay within himself. He had been so focused on comparing the Mutintas that he had forgotten to listen to his heart. The next day, Kunda decided to spend more time with the first Mutinta, the one who had first caught his attention with her kindness and warmth. They walked together by the river, the sun casting a golden glow on the water. Kunda felt a sense of peace in her presence, a feeling that had been absent with the others. As they talked, Kunda realized that it wasn't just her kindness that drew him to her, it was the way she made him feel. With her, he felt at home, as if he could be himself without fear of judgment or rejection. She didn't just compliment him, she completed him in a way that no one else could. After spending the day with the first Mutinta, Kunda knew in his heart that she was the one. The doubts that had plagued him began to fade, replaced by a deep sense of certainty. She was the woman the prophet had spoken of, the one who was meant to be his wife. Kunda knew he had to speak with the other Mutintas to let them know of his decision. It was a difficult task, for he cared for each of them and did not want to cause them pain. But he also knew that honesty was the only way forward. He met with each Mutinta in turn, thanking them for the time they had spent together and explaining his decision. Though there was sadness, each woman respected Kunda's choice, understanding that his heart had led him to the one who was meant for him. With the other Mutintas gracefully accepting his decision, Kunda turned his full attention to the first Mutinta. He wanted to make his proposal special, a moment they would both cherish forever. On the evening of a beautiful clear day, Kunda took Mutinta to the river where they had spent so much time together. The stars were beginning to appear, twinkling in the darkening sky. Kunda took her hands in his, looking into her eyes with a warmth that came from the deepest part of his heart. "Mutinta," he said softly, "from the moment I met you, I felt a connection that I could not explain. I have spent time with others, but no one makes me feel as complete as you do. You are my heart, my home, and I know now that you are the one I want to spend my life with. Will you marry me?" Mutinta's eyes filled with tears of joy, and she nodded, her smile brighter than the stars above them. "Yes, Kunda," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." The village buzzed with excitement as preparations began for the wedding of Kunda and Mutinta. It was to be a grand celebration, with music, dancing, and feasting that would last for days. The entire community came together to help, for Kunda and Mutinta were beloved by all. On the day of the wedding, the sun shone brightly, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers. Kunda stood proudly in his traditional attire, waiting for his bride. When Mutinta appeared, dressed in a beautiful gown woven by the village women, Kunda's breath caught in his throat. She was radiant, more beautiful than he had ever seen her. The ceremony was held under the ancient baobab tree, the very place where Kunda had sought guidance from his ancestors. As they exchanged their vows, Kunda felt a deep sense of peace and happiness. He knew without a doubt that he had found the woman he was meant to spend his life with. After the wedding, Kunda and Mutinta settled into their new life together. They built a home on the outskirts of the village where they could be close to nature and enjoy the simple pleasures of life. Their days were filled with love and laughter, and they found joy in the little things, walking by the river, tending to their garden, and spending time with their neighbors. As the years passed, Kunda and Mutinta's love only grew stronger. They faced challenges, as all couples do, but they faced them together, knowing that they were stronger as one. They had children who they raised with the same love and care that they showed to each other. Their home became a place of warmth and happiness where friends and family were always welcome. Kunda often thought back to the prophecy and the journey that had led him to Mutinta. He realized that the path had been difficult at times, but it had been worth it. He had found his true love, and together they had created a life that was rich in love and meaning. As Kunda and Mutinta grew older, their love story became the stuff of legend in the village. The younger generations looked up to them, seeing in their relationship an example of what true love could be. Kunda and Mutinta often shared their story with those who sought advice on matters of the heart, always emphasizing the importance of following one's heart and being true to oneself. One day, as Kunda and Mutinta sat by the river where their journey had begun, Kunda turned to his wife with a smile. "Do you remember the day we met?" he asked. Mutinta nodded, her eyes sparkling with the same warmth that had first drawn Kunda to her. "I do," she said softly. "It feels like it was just yesterday." Kunda took her hand in his, feeling the familiar comfort of her touch. "I am grateful every day that the Prophet led me to you," he said. "You have made my life more beautiful than I ever could have imagined." Mutinta leaned her head on his shoulder, content in the knowledge that they had built something truly special together. "And I am grateful that you listened to your heart," she replied. "It led you to me, and it led us to this life we've created." As they watched the sun set over the hills, Kunda and Mutinta knew that their love would endure, not just in their own hearts, but in the hearts of those who would carry their story forward. Their love was a legacy, one that would inspire generations to come. Kunda and Mutinta lived the rest of their days in peace and happiness. They grew old together, their love only deepening with time. They watched their children grow into strong and kind individuals, each of them carrying a piece of their parents' love in their hearts. When the time came for Kunda and Mutinta to leave this world, they did so peacefully, knowing that they had lived a full and meaningful life. The village mourned their passing, but celebrated the love they had shared, a love that had touched everyone who knew them. And so, the story of Kunda and Mutinta became a part of the village's history, a tale told around the fireside for generations to come. It was a story of love, faith, and the power of the heart, a reminder that, in the end, love is the greatest gift of all. In the months following their wedding, Kunda and Mutinta settled into a happy routine. But life, as they soon discovered, was not without its challenges. The first real test of their marriage came when the village experienced a severe drought. The rains, which usually came at the start of the planting season, were late, and the crops began to wither under the relentless sun. The entire village was affected, and as a farmer, Kunda felt the weight of this burden heavily on his shoulders. He and Mutinta had planted their crops with care, but now they watched helplessly as the fields dried up. Kunda grew anxious, worrying about how they would survive the coming months without a good harvest. Mutinta, always the calm and supportive partner, encouraged Kunda to stay hopeful. "We must work together with the community," she said one evening as they sat outside, watching the sun set over the parched land. "The village has faced hardships before, and we have always found a way through." Kunda nodded, but he couldn't shake the worry gnawing at him. He was determined to find a solution, not just for his family, but for the entire village. The next morning, Kunda gathered with the other farmers in the village to discuss what could be done. They talked about different strategies: digging deeper wells, planting drought-resistant crops, and rationing the water they had. The discussions were heated as everyone was feeling the pressure of the situation. After much debate, it was decided that they would work together to dig a new well in a part of the village where the water table was known to be deeper. Kunda volunteered to lead the effort, driven by his desire to protect his family and ensure the village's survival. For weeks, the villagers worked tirelessly, digging the well by hand. It was backbreaking labor, but Kunda's determination never wavered. Mutinta was by his side every day, bringing water and food to the workers and offering words of encouragement. Her presence was a source of strength for Kunda, reminding him that they were in this together. Finally, after weeks of hard work, the well was completed. The water that flowed from it was clean and abundant, and the villagers rejoiced. It was enough to sustain them until the rains finally arrived, a blessing that brought the village back to life. The crops began to grow again, and with them, the hope of the people was restored. Kunda and Mutinta's efforts had not only saved their own farm, but had also helped the entire village survive a difficult time. Kunda's leadership and Mutinta's unwavering support had proven to be a powerful combination, and the villagers were grateful for their selflessness. This experience deepened the bond between Kunda and Mutinta. They had faced a great challenge together and had come out stronger on the other side. Their love had been tested, and it had passed with flying colors. As the years went by, Kunda and Mutinta's family began to grow. They were blessed with 2 children, a boy named Mwansa and a girl named Chanda. Both children inherited their parents' best qualities. Mwansa had his father's strength and determination, while Chanda had her mother's kindness and wisdom. Kunda and Mutinta took great joy in raising their children, teaching them the values they held dear: hard work, compassion, and the importance of community. They spent their days working the land, caring for their animals, and nurturing their family. The children were a source of endless joy for Kunda and Mutinta. Mwansa was always eager to learn from his father, following him around the fields and asking questions about everything. Chanda, on the other hand, loved to spend time with her mother, helping her in the garden and learning about the healing properties of plants. Kunda and Mutinta were dedicated to passing on the knowledge and wisdom they had gained over the years to their children. They wanted Mwansa and Chanda to grow up understanding the importance of tradition and the value of working together as a family. In the evenings after the work was done, Kunda would tell stories to his children, stories of the ancestors, of great heroes and wise leaders. He would also share the story of how he had found their mother, reminding them of the importance of listening to their hearts and being true to themselves. Mutinta, too, shared her wisdom with the children, teaching them about the plants that grew in their garden and the ways they could be used to heal. She encouraged them to be curious about the world around them and to always seek knowledge. The children thrived in this environment, growing into strong, thoughtful, and caring individuals. They were a source of pride for Kunda and Mutinta, who saw in them the continuation of their legacy. One day when Mwansa was about 12 years old and Chanda was 10, an unexpected visitor arrived in the village. He was an old man, weary from his travels, and he carried with him a small bundle wrapped in cloth. The villagers, curious about the stranger, gathered around him as he made his way to the center of the village. The old man introduced himself as Bwalia, a traveler who had come from a distant land. He had heard of the village's kindness and sought refuge for a few days. Kunda, ever hospitable, welcomed the old man into his home, offering him food and a place to rest. As the evening wore on, Bwalia began to tell stories of the places he had visited, the people he had met, and the adventures he had experienced. The children were captivated by his tales, hanging on his every word. But as the night grew darker, Bwalia grew serious. He unwrapped the bundle he had carried with him, revealing a small, intricately carved wooden box. "This," he said, "is a gift from a faraway land. It has been passed down through generations and is said to bring good fortune to those who possess it." Bwalia handed the box to Kunda, who examined it carefully. The carvings on the box were unlike anything he had seen before, depicting scenes of people, animals, and mysterious symbols. Kunda felt a strange energy emanating from the box, something powerful yet serene. The old man explained that the box contained the essence of wisdom from his ancestors, a gift meant to be shared with those who were worthy. "It is not just a box," Bwalia said, "but a guide. It will help you in times of need, but only if you approach it with an open heart and a clear mind." Kunda was honored by the gift, but also cautious. He asked Bwalia how to use the box, but the old man simply smiled and said, "The box will reveal its secrets when the time is right. Trust in yourself, and you will know what to do." With that, Bwalia retired for the night, leaving Kunda and Mutinta to ponder the mysterious gift. They placed the box in a special place in their home, unsure of its purpose, but respectful of the old man's words. Over the next few days, Kunda couldn't stop thinking about the box and what it might contain. He was tempted to open it, to see what lay inside, but Mutinta reminded him of Bwalia's words. "We must be patient," she said. "The box will reveal its secrets when we are ready." Kunda agreed, but the mystery of the box gnawed at him. He began to notice that it seemed to affect his thoughts, making him more introspective. He found himself reflecting on his life, his choices, and the path that had brought him to this point. One day, while working in the fields, Kunda had an epiphany. He realized that the box was not just a physical object, but a symbol of the journey he had been on, both the external journey of finding Mutinta and building a family, and the internal journey of understanding himself. The box was a reminder that wisdom comes not from seeking answers outside of oneself, but from looking inward. It was a lesson in humility, in trusting the process of life and being patient with the unknown. As time went on, Kunda's reflections deepened, and he became more attuned to the needs of his community. His experiences had taught him that true leadership was not about giving orders, but about serving others and guiding them with wisdom and compassion. One day, the village elders approached Kunda, asking him to take on a more prominent role in the community. They had seen his dedication during the drought and admired the way he had led the village through difficult times. They believed he was the right person to help guide the village into the future. Kunda was honored by their request. but he hesitated. He had always been a man of the land, content with his simple life as a farmer and a father. The idea of taking on a leadership role was daunting, but Mutinta, ever supportive, encouraged him to accept the responsibility. "You have always led by example," she said. "The village respects you because you are humble, fair, and wise. They need someone like you to help them navigate the challenges that lie ahead." After much thought, Kunda agreed to take on the role. He knew it would not be easy, but with Mutinta by his side, he felt confident that he could make a positive difference in the village. Kunda's new role brought with it new challenges and responsibilities. He worked closely with the elders and the villagers to address issues such as food security, education, and healthcare. He also sought to preserve the traditions and values that had been passed down through generations, while also embracing the need for progress and change. One night, Kunda had a dream that would shape his vision for the village's future. In the dream, he saw a great tree growing in the center of the village, its branches reaching out to touch every corner of the land. The tree was strong and healthy, its roots deep in the earth, and it provided shelter and nourishment for all who came to it. Kunda understood the dream as a symbol of the community, a living entity that thrived when it was nurtured and cared for. He realized that his role as a leader was not to control the village, but to help it grow, to ensure that every person had the opportunity to thrive. When he shared his vision with the villagers, they embraced it wholeheartedly. Together, they began to work towards creating a village that was both strong in tradition and forward-thinking, a place where everyone could feel a sense of belonging and purpose. As the village began to implement the changes inspired by Kunda's vision, they encountered resistance from some of the older villagers who were wary of change. They feared that new ideas and practices might erode the traditions they had held dear for so long. Kunda understood their concerns and took the time to listen to their fears. He held meetings where everyone could voice their opinions, and he emphasized the importance of balancing tradition with progress. "Change is inevitable," he said, "but it does not mean we must lose who we are. We can grow while still holding on to the values that make us strong." Slowly, the villagers began to see the wisdom in Kunda's approach. The changes that were implemented were done with care and respect for the past, ensuring that the village's heritage was preserved even as they moved forward. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, Kunda returned home and felt a strong pull towards the wooden box that Walya had given him. It had been sitting in their home for years, untouched and mysterious, but now it seemed to be calling to him. Mutinta noticed Kunda's distraction and gently encouraged him to follow his intuition. "Perhaps the time has come," she said. "You have grown so much since we first received the box. Maybe it is ready to reveal its secrets." Kunda agreed, and together they approached the box. With great reverence, Kunda opened the lid. Inside, he found a single piece of parchment, aged and delicate. On it were written words in a language that Kunda could not read. But as he held the parchment, he felt a deep understanding flow through him. The message was not in the words themselves, but in the feeling they conveyed. A reminder that wisdom is not about knowing all the answers, but about being open to learning and growing. The box had been a symbol of the journey Kunda and Mutinta had been on, and now it had fulfilled its purpose. Kunda felt a deep sense of peace as he placed the parchment back in the box and closed the lid. He realized that the true gift had been the journey itself, the challenges, the lessons, and the love that had guided him along the way. With the mystery of the box finally unveiled, Kunda and Mutinta felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had built a life together filled with love, wisdom, and community, and now they wanted to share that joy with others. They decided to hold a celebration, inviting the entire village to join them in honoring the journey they had all been on together. The celebration was filled with music, dancing, and storytelling, with each villager contributing something special to the event. Kunda and Mutinta stood together at the center of the celebration, surrounded by their children, friends, and neighbors. They reflected on the life they had built and the legacy they were creating for future generations. As the sun set over the village, casting a warm golden light on the festivities, Kunda and Mutinta knew that they had found something truly special. Their love, their family, and their community were the true treasures of their life, and they would continue to nurture them for as long as they lived. As the years passed, Mwansa and Chanda grew into strong, capable young adults, each showing the promise of the values instilled in them by their parents. Mwansa, now a young man, took after Kunda in his dedication to the land and his natural leadership abilities. He was respected by his peers for his wisdom beyond his years and his ability to bring people together. Chanda, on the other hand, had inherited her mother's nurturing spirit and knowledge of healing. She was known in the village as a healer, often helping the sick and injured with remedies learned from her mother and the elders. Her gentle nature and keen intelligence made her beloved by all who knew her. Both children were deeply involved in the life of the village, contributing in their unique ways and making their parents proud. Kunda and Mutinta watched with joy as their children grew, seeing in them the continuation of the legacy they had worked so hard to build. As Mwansa reached adulthood, the village elders began to look to him as a potential leader. They saw in him the same qualities that had made Kunda a great leader: humility, wisdom, and a deep sense of responsibility for the well-being of the community. One day, the elders approached Kunda with a request. They wanted Mwansa to begin training to take on a more formal leadership role within the village, ensuring that the next generation was prepared to guide the community forward. Kunda felt a deep sense of pride at this request, but he also knew the weight of responsibility that came with it. He spoke with Mwansa about the elders' proposal, emphasizing the importance of service and the sacrifices that leadership often required. Mwansa, who had always looked up to his father, was both excited and humbled by the opportunity. He knew that he had big shoes to fill, but he was ready to step up and continue his father's work. While Mwansa prepared to take on more leadership responsibilities, Chanda found herself drawn deeper into the world of healing. She began to study with the village's elder healers, learning the ancient knowledge of herbs, roots, and spiritual practices that had been passed down through generations. Chanda's skills as a healer grew quickly, and soon she was known beyond their village for her abilities. People from neighboring villages began to seek her out, asking for her help with ailments that others could not cure. Chanda was dedicated to her work, finding great fulfillment in helping others and continuing the legacy of healing that her mother had begun. However, Chanda also felt a sense of restlessness. While she loved her village and the work she was doing, she wondered if there was more she could learn, more people she could help. She began to dream of traveling beyond the village to seek out new knowledge and bring it back to her community. One evening, as the family gathered for their usual meal, Chanda spoke to her parents about her desire to travel. She explained that she wanted to learn from other healers to expand her knowledge and bring back new practices that could benefit the village. Kunda and Mutinta listened carefully, understanding the pull that Chanda felt. They knew that their daughter's heart was in the right place, but they also worried about the dangers and challenges she might face on such a journey. After much discussion, they decided to support Chanda in her decision, recognizing that her journey could bring great benefits to the village. Kunda gave her his blessing, reminding her to always stay true to herself and the values she had learned at home. Mutinta prepared a small bundle of herbs and remedies for Chanda to take with her, ensuring that she would be able to care for herself and others along the way. With her parents' blessing and her brother's encouragement, Chanda set off on her journey to seek new knowledge. She traveled to neighboring villages, learning from different healers and gathering new information about plants, remedies, and healing practices. Chanda's journey was not without its challenges. She encountered difficult terrain, harsh weather, and moments of doubt. But each challenge taught her something new, both about healing and about herself. She learned to trust her instincts, to be resourceful, and to draw on the strength of her ancestors when times were tough. As she traveled, Chanda made many friends and earned the respect of those she met. She shared her knowledge freely, and in return, others shared their wisdom with her. Chanda was constantly learning, growing, and evolving as a healer. After several months of traveling, Chanda felt it was time to return home. She had learned a great deal and was eager to share her newfound knowledge with her village. Her journey had been transformative, and she felt more confident and capable than ever before. When Chanda returned to the village, she was greeted with open arms. Her parents were proud of the woman she had become, and the villagers were eager to hear about her experiences. Chanda began to share the new practices she had learned, teaching others how to use different plants and techniques to heal. Chanda's return brought a renewed sense of vitality to the village. She had not only expanded her own knowledge, but had also enriched the community by bringing in new ideas and practices. Her journey had strengthened her connection to her heritage, while also opening up new possibilities for the future. With Mwansa and Chanda contributing in their own ways, the village entered a time of prosperity. The crops were abundant, the people were healthy, and the community was thriving. Kunda and Mutinta watched with pride as their children took on more responsibilities, helping to guide the village into a new era. The village had become a model of cooperation and innovation, blending traditional wisdom with new ideas. The well that Kunda had led the effort to dig years ago continued to provide fresh water, ensuring that the village was resilient even during times of drought. Mwansa's leadership was marked by fairness and a commitment to the well-being of all. He worked closely with the elders and the villagers, ensuring that everyone had a voice in the decisions that affected the community. Chanda, on the other hand, became known as one of the most skilled healers in the region, her reputation spreading far and wide. As the village prospered, they received another visitor, this time a young man named Sitali. He was a traveler, much like Bwalya had been, but his purpose was different. Sitali was an explorer and a scholar, seeking to learn about the traditions and practices of different cultures. Sitali was particularly interested in the healing practices of the village, having heard of Chanda's skills. He asked to stay in the village for a while, hoping to learn from Chanda and exchange knowledge. Chanda welcomed him, seeing an opportunity to learn even more and to share the wisdom of her ancestors. As Sitali spent time in the village, he and Chanda grew close. They shared a mutual respect for each other's knowledge and a deep curiosity about the world. Sitali was impressed by Chanda's dedication to her craft and her ability to blend tradition with new ideas. Over time, Chanda and Sitali's friendship blossomed into something more. They found that they shared not only a passion for healing, but also a vision for the future, one in which knowledge was shared freely and people worked together to create a better world. Kunda and Mutinta noticed the growing bond between their daughter and Sitali. They were happy to see Chanda with someone who respected her and shared her values. However, they also knew that Chanda would need to make a decision about her future, whether to stay in the village or to continue exploring the world with Sitali. Chanda was torn. She loved her village and her family, but she also felt a pull toward the wider world, a desire to learn and grow beyond the boundaries of her home. She knew that whatever choice she made, it would shape the rest of her life. One evening, as the sun set over the village, Sitali approached Chanda with a serious expression. He told her that he had decided to continue his travels as there was still so much of the world he wanted to see and learn about. However, he did not want to leave without her. Sitali proposed that Chanda join him on his journey, suggesting that they could travel together as partners, sharing their knowledge and learning from the people they met along the way. He promised that they would return to the village whenever they could, keeping their connection to home alive while exploring new horizons. Chanda was deeply moved by Sitali's proposal. She loved the idea of continuing her journey with someone who understood and supported her passions. But she also felt a strong sense of responsibility to her family and her village. Chanda decided to discuss Sitali's proposal with her parents. Kunda and Mutinta listened carefully as she explained her feelings, her dreams, and her sense of duty. They could see that Chanda was torn between two worlds, the one she had always known and the one she longed to explore. Kunda and Mutinta shared their thoughts, encouraging Chanda to follow her heart. They assured her that they would support whatever decision she made, knowing that she would always carry the values and wisdom she had learned with her, no matter where she went. Mutinta, in particular, reminded Chanda that life was about growth and change. She told her daughter that just as the village had evolved and prospered, so too could she. "You have already given so much to this village," Mutinta said. "Now it's time to take what you have learned and share it with the world." After much reflection, Chanda made her decision. She would join Sitali on his journey, knowing that this was the path that would allow her to grow, learn, and make a difference in the world. She spoke with Mwansa, who supported her wholeheartedly, knowing that their bond as siblings would remain strong no matter the distance. Chanda also spoke to the villagers, explaining her decision and expressing her gratitude for their love and support over the years. She promised to return whenever she could, bringing with her new knowledge and ideas that could benefit the community. The villagers understood and respected Chanda's choice, knowing that she was following her calling. They wished her well and assured her that she would always have a home in the village. Before Chanda and Sitali set off on their journey, the village organized a farewell celebration in their honor. The event was filled with music, dancing, and storytelling, just like the celebrations that Kunda and Mutinta had experienced when they were younger. Kunda and Mutinta were filled with mixed emotions. They were proud of their daughter and excited for the new adventures that awaited her, but they also knew that they would miss her deeply. They took comfort in the knowledge that Chanda was following her heart, just as they had taught her to do. As the celebration came to an end, Chanda and Sitali said their goodbyes. Chanda embraced her parents, promising to stay in touch and to return whenever she could. Kunda and Mutinta gave her their blessings, knowing that she was ready to take on the world. The next morning, as the sun rose over the village, Chanda and Sitali set off on their journey. They walked hand in hand, their hearts filled with hope and excitement for the future. Chanda carried with her the knowledge and wisdom of her village, ready to share it with the world and to learn from the people she would meet along the way. Kunda and Mutinta watched as their daughter disappeared into the distance, feeling a deep sense of peace. They knew that Chanda was embarking on a new chapter of her life, one that would bring her growth, fulfillment, and happiness. As they returned to their home, Kunda and Mutinta reflected on the journey they had been on as a family. They had faced challenges, celebrated victories, and built a life filled with love and purpose. Now they were ready to embrace whatever the future held, knowing that they had done their best to raise strong, wise, and compassionate children. With Chanda on her journey, Mwansa continued to take on more responsibilities within the village. The elders, recognizing his growing maturity and wisdom, began to involve him in more significant decisions, gradually preparing him to take over the leadership role when the time came. Mwansa approached his duties with the same dedication and humility that his father had shown. He was committed to ensuring the well-being of the village and worked tirelessly to address any challenges that arose. Whether it was managing resources, resolving conflicts, or planning for the future, Mwansa demonstrated that he was a capable and thoughtful leader. The villagers respected Mwansa not just for his abilities, but for the way he carried himself. He was always willing to listen, to learn, and to put the needs of the community first. Under his guidance, the village continued to thrive, and the people felt secure in the knowledge that their future was in good hands. As the years passed, Kunda and Mutinta found themselves with more time to reflect on their lives. Their children were grown, the village was prosperous, and they had fulfilled many of the goals they had set for themselves. With the major responsibilities of leadership and parenting now largely in the hands of Mwansa, Kunda and Mutinta began to think about the next phase of their lives. They spent more time together, enjoying the simple pleasures of life, walking by the river, tending to their garden, and sharing stories from their past. They often reminisced about the early days of their relationship, the challenges they had faced, and the journey that had brought them to this point. Kunda, in particular, found himself thinking about the legacy they would leave behind. He knew that they had built something special, not just for themselves, but for the entire village. But he also understood that life was constantly changing, and that it was important to embrace the future with an open heart. One day, after several years of traveling, Chanda returned to the village for a visit. She and Sitali had explored many lands, learning from different cultures and sharing their knowledge along the way. Chanda had grown even more skilled as a healer, and she brought back new techniques and remedies that she was eager to share with her family and the village. Kunda and Mutinta were overjoyed to see their daughter again. They welcomed her with open arms, eager to hear about her adventures and to learn from her experiences. Chanda spent her days in the village, reconnecting with old friends and teaching new healing practices to those who were interested. During her visit, Chanda noticed how much her parents had aged. They were still strong and vibrant, but there was a certain calmness in them, a contentment that came from knowing they had lived a full and meaningful life. Chanda admired the love and wisdom that her parents had shared with her and her brother, and she was grateful for the foundation they had given her. As Chanda's visit came to an end, Kunda and Mutinta sat down with their children to discuss the future. They knew that the time was approaching when they would need to step back from their roles in the village, allowing Mwansa and the next generation to take the lead. Kunda spoke to Mwansa about the importance of leadership, emphasizing that it was not just about making decisions, but about serving the community with humility and integrity. He reminded Mwansa that leadership was a responsibility that required a deep commitment to the well-being of others. Mutinta, meanwhile, spoke with Chanda about the importance of continuing the work of healing, both within the village and beyond. She encouraged Chanda to keep learning, to keep growing, and to always stay true to her values. Mwansa and Chanda listened carefully, understanding the significance of this conversation. They knew that their parents had given them everything they needed to succeed, and they were ready to carry on the legacy that Kunda and Mutinta had built. With the passing of the torch, a new era began in the village. Mwansa officially took on the role of village leader, with the full support of the elders and the community. He continued to guide the village with wisdom and compassion, always mindful of the lessons he had learned from his father. Chanda, after her visit, returned to her travels with Sitali, continuing to explore the world and share her knowledge. She knew that her heart would always be with her family and her village, but she also felt a deep calling to make a difference in the wider world. Kunda and Mutinta, now free from the responsibilities of leadership, focused on enjoying their remaining years together. They spent their days in quiet contentment, surrounded by the love of their family and the beauty of the land they had worked so hard to nurture. As Kunda and Mutinta grew older, they began to think about the legacy they would leave behind. They knew that their children were capable and strong, but they wanted to leave something tangible, something that would remind future generations of the values that had guided their lives. Kunda decided to create a special garden, a place where the wisdom of the village could be preserved and passed down. He and Mutinta worked together to plant trees, flowers, and herbs that had special meanings, each representing a different aspect of the wisdom they had gathered over the years. The garden became a place of learning and reflection, where villagers could come to meditate, to seek guidance, or simply to enjoy the beauty of nature. Kunda and Mutinta often spent time there, tending to the plants and sharing stories with those who visited. In their final years, Kunda and Mutinta experienced a deep sense of peace. They had lived full and meaningful lives, raising a family, guiding a community, and leaving behind a legacy of love and wisdom. They knew that the village was in good hands and that the values they had cherished would continue to flourish. Their days were filled with simple pleasures, watching the sun rise over the hills, listening to the birds sing, and spending time with their grandchildren. They took comfort in knowing that they had done their best and that their efforts had made a difference in the lives of others. One peaceful night, as the moonlight bathed the village in a gentle glow, Kunda passed away quietly in his sleep. Mutinta was by his side, holding his hand as he took his final breath. She felt a deep sorrow, but also a profound sense of gratitude for the life they had shared. The village mourned the loss of Kunda, but they also celebrated his life. He had been a beloved leader, a wise mentor, and a devoted husband and father. His legacy would live on in the hearts of those who knew him, and in the garden he had created with Mutinta. Mwansa took on the responsibility of organizing the memorial, ensuring that it honored the values his father had held dear. The entire village came together to pay their respects, sharing stories of Kunda's kindness, wisdom, and dedication to the community. After Kunda's passing, Mutinta found herself reflecting on the life they had built together. She missed him dearly, but she also felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had faced challenges, celebrated joys, and created something lasting and meaningful. Mutinta spent more time in the garden they had created, finding solace in the plants and flowers that reminded her of Kunda. She continued to share her wisdom with the villagers, ensuring that the knowledge they had gathered would not be lost. Chanda and Sitali returned to the village upon hearing of Kunda's passing. Chanda was deeply saddened by the loss of her father, but she took comfort in the knowledge that he had lived a full and meaningful life. She spent time with her mother, helping her through the difficult period of grief and reflecting on the many lessons her father had taught her. Sitali also felt a deep respect for Kunda, having seen firsthand the impact he had on the village and on his family. He supported Chanda as she navigated her grief, knowing that she would carry her father's legacy with her wherever she went. During their visit, Chanda and Sitali spent time in the garden, reflecting on the life Kunda had lived and the values he had passed down. They knew that Kunda's influence would continue to shape their lives and the lives of future generations. In the years that followed, Mutinta continued to live a life filled with love and purpose. She remained deeply connected to her family and her community, always ready to offer guidance and support to those who sought it. Though she missed Kunda, she found comfort in the garden they had created together, a living testament to their love and the wisdom they had gathered. Mutinta took great joy in watching her grandchildren grow, passing on to them the stories and lessons she had learned throughout her life. She knew that they would carry on the legacy she and Kunda had built, ensuring that the village continued to thrive. As she grew older, Mutinta found herself spending more time in quiet reflection. She had lived a full and meaningful life, and she was at peace with the knowledge that she had done her best. She knew that when her time came, she would be ready to join Kunda in the next life. One peaceful morning, as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Mutinta passed away quietly in her sleep. She was surrounded by her family, who had gathered to be with her in her final moments. Mutinta's passing was gentle, a reflection of the life she had lived. The village mourned the loss of Mutinta just as they had mourned Kunda. She had been a source of wisdom, love, and strength for the community, and her absence was deeply felt. But the villagers also celebrated her life, remembering the many ways she had touched their lives and the legacy she had left behind. Mwansa and Chanda organized a memorial for their mother, ensuring that it honored the values she had held dear. The entire village came together once again, sharing stories of Mutinta's kindness, her healing abilities, and the love she had shown to everyone she met. With the passing of both Kunda and Mutinta, the village entered a new era. Mwansa, now fully established as the village leader, carried on his parents' legacy with grace and wisdom. He continued to guide the village with a deep sense of responsibility and a commitment to the well-being of all. Chanda too continued her journey, sharing the knowledge she had gained from her mother and father with the world. She knew that her parents' influence would always be with her, guiding her as she navigated the challenges and joys of life. The garden that Kunda and Mutinta had created became a cherished place in the village, a symbol of the love and wisdom they had shared. It was a place where villagers could come to remember Kunda and Mutinta, to seek guidance, and to find peace. As the years passed, Mwansa and Chanda continued to build on the foundation their parents had laid. They raised their own children with the same values and principles that Kunda and Mutinta had taught them, ensuring that the legacy of love, wisdom, and community would continue for generations to come. Mwansa's children grew up to be leaders in their own right, contributing to the village and helping to guide it through new challenges. Chanda's children, inspired by their mother's journey, also pursued paths of knowledge and service, always mindful of the values that had been passed down to them. The village continued to thrive, a testament to the enduring power of love, wisdom, and community. The values that Kunda and Mutinta had lived by were now deeply ingrained in the fabric of the village, ensuring that their legacy would never be forgotten. As the village flourished under the leadership of Mwansa and the contributions of Chanda, life continued its natural cycle. New generations were born, grew, and took on the responsibilities of their forebears. The values that Kunda and Mutinta had instilled in their children were passed down, creating a strong and resilient community. The garden, which had been created as a living testament to Kunda and Mutinta's love, became a central place of reflection, learning, and celebration. Villagers of all ages came to the garden to remember their roots, to find inspiration, and to connect with the wisdom of those who had come before. As Mwansa and Chanda grew older, they too began to think about the legacy they would leave behind. They knew that the village was in good hands, with the next generation ready to take on the mantle of leadership and continue the work of their ancestors. As Chanda reached the twilight of her life, she felt a deep calling to return to the village one last time. She had spent her life traveling, learning, and teaching, but now she wanted to come home, to be with her family, and to pass on her final wisdom. Chanda returned to the village to a warm welcome. She was older now, but her spirit was as strong as ever. She spent her days sharing the knowledge she had gained, teaching the younger generations about the importance of love, community, and the interconnectedness of all life. Chanda knew that her time was nearing its end, and she wanted to ensure that the wisdom she had gathered would continue to be shared long after she was gone. She gathered her children and grandchildren around her, passing on the stories, lessons, and values that had guided her throughout her life. As a final act of love and gratitude, Chanda decided to create a book, a collection of stories, wisdom, and healing practices that she had gathered over her lifetime. She poured her heart and soul into the book, knowing that it would be her final gift to the village and to her family. The book, titled The Wisdom of the Heart, became a cherished possession in the village. It was filled with stories of Kunda and Mutinta, of the lessons they had taught, and of the journey Chanda had taken to carry on their legacy. The book was passed down through the generations, ensuring that the wisdom of the ancestors would never be lost. After completing her book, Chanda felt a deep sense of peace. She had lived a full and meaningful life, and she was ready to join her parents in the next life. One peaceful morning, surrounded by her family, Chanda passed away quietly, her heart full of love and gratitude. The village mourned the loss of Chanda, but they also celebrated her life. She had been a source of healing, wisdom, and inspiration for so many, and her legacy would live on in the hearts of those who knew her. The book she had created became a treasured part of the village's heritage, a symbol of the love and wisdom that had been passed down through the generations. With the passing of Chanda, the village once again found itself at a crossroads. But just as they had done before, the villagers looked to the future with hope and determination. The values that Kunda, Mutinta, and Chanda had instilled in them would continue to guide them, ensuring that their community remained strong and resilient. The garden, the book, and the stories passed down through the generations became symbols of the village's enduring legacy. The younger generations, inspired by the wisdom of their ancestors, took on the responsibilities of leadership, healing, and community, building with pride and dedication. The village continued to thrive, a place where tradition and progress coexisted in harmony. The legacy of love, wisdom, and community that Kunda, Mutinta, and Chanda had created was alive and well, ensuring that the values they held dear would be passed down for generations to come. As the years passed, the village entered a new era. The younger generations, who had grown up hearing the stories of Kunda, Mutinta, and Chanda, were now the leaders, healers, and caretakers of the community. They carried with them the wisdom of their ancestors, but they were also eager to explore new possibilities and to build on the foundation that had been laid. The village continued to be a place of peace, prosperity, and community. The values of love, wisdom, and service remained at the heart of everything they did, ensuring that the village was a place where everyone could thrive. And so, the story of Kunda, Mutinta, and Chanda became a cherished part of the village's history, a reminder of the power of love, the importance of wisdom, and the strength of community. The legacy they had created would continue to inspire future generations, ensuring that their values would live on for as long as the village stood.